everybody. This is the Relevant Information Society. I am Ryan, here with Andrew.
Hello.
And we have a guest.
Hello. My name is Carlton.
Yeah, you just need a first name, that's it. He and Andrew know each other, and Richie is absconded by real life, so I feel very ganged up on. Not like usual, where it's I know at least two people on either side of the table, and I can gang up on whoever's presenting. But the roles are reversed. But I'm also not presenting. Andrew, What are we talking about?
Hey, we're talking about Halloween, because today's Halloween.
Is this gonna be a same day edit thing for me?
You don't have to.
No, that eases my mind. Maybe.
No, I wasn't expecting you to do the same day.
I think I should turn up the gain. All right, Andrew, go on.
So, a lot of people don't know that Halloween dates back to the ancient Celts, which they celebrated with a festival called Samhain.
Yeah, I don't remember here, but I do remember it being a seasonal thing. So, but even more than this, you'll probably say when it becomes enters Day of the Dead sort of territory, because...
Yeah, I mean, they would do it because they thought on the 31st, the spirits would come back from the dead.
Yeah.
And then there's two things I heard. One of them was they would dress up to disguise themselves from the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
But another one I heard was they would light bonfires and dress up to scare away the ghosts.
And is this Day of the Dead, or is this the Celtic one?
This is the Celtic one.
Okay, we're on the Celtic one.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of the Day of the Dead one, surprisingly. So it was originally called All Hallows Eve, and that will also carry on to November 1st and November 2nd as well. Because back then when they did All Hallows Eve, it was pretty much like November was All Saints Day, then November 2nd was All Souls Day. And eventually that will evolve into becoming just one day of Halloween.
Sort of like how, I don't know, Christmas is like Christmas Eve, Christmas, recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, so Halloween lands on the 31st because it marks the time of years of season changing and all that. And most observers believe, like I said before, the boundaries between our world and the world of the dead becomes thin.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows the ghosts to come up to our world. And that's when they started with like bonfires and dress up and all that. It was also similar to a Jewish holiday called Yom Kippur, which also involves prayers for the dead, which also happened in Halloween in October. Halloween came from All Hallows Eve or Hallows Evening. All Hallows Eve and November 1st, All Saints Day both paid homage to saints. Yeah, so pretty much I think on the 31st they would dress up as saints and we'll go to to the neighbors and all that and sing verses and songs to them. And how November 2nd comes in, they would go, like the kids would get little biscuit things. They had a certain name. Soul cakes.
Soul cakes.
Mm-hmm. And that's why the November 2nd was called All Souls Day.
Mm-hmm. So it's it was reverse trick-or-treating with soul cakes?
Yeah.
I know now that people go reverse trick-or-treating mainly as a joke, although probably not this year for reasons.
Early Samhain involved a lot of ritualistic ceremonies to connect to the spirits.
Okay.
Also, now people don't know that Halloween was actually a pagan holiday.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I associate it more with an autumn festival than its own holiday. I assume that All Saints Day was part of its Christian term, and then it got corporatized to candy.
Over time, Christianity took over, and the pagan undertones lessened from it.
Much like how it did with Christmas, actually.
Yeah.
Well, Catholicism was the progenitor. Don't discount that.
Yeah. Changed its traditions and became a pop culture holiday, and eventually evolving and modernizing it as well. So instead of mystical rituals, and now lighthearted fun games. Pretty much. Connecting to the dead was replaced with the idea of telling the future. For example, bobbing for apples, was future-telling game on All Hallows Eve. Apples will be selected to represent all of a women's suitors. An apple she would end up biting into would supposedly represent her future husband.
That's a really kind of ass backwards way of doing that.
So what? Were there like different types of apples, or were there just apples that one was rotting and the other was pristine?
Or like
I think
names on apples.
I think there was different colored apples and all that. Yeah.
So wait, were they painted? Did you have to bite a painted apple?
Yeah, and paint at that time, like, there's no way that there wasn't lead on all of those apples.
Or they just had normal color normal apples in there, and they I don't know. It didn't really say much when I looked up.
Around what time period was this?
12, I think roughly 1200 BC probably.
Ladies from the 1200 BC, if you're still around, let us know exactly why the fuck that happened in the comments below.
Do they even know how to use a computer?
I mean, if they're from 1200 BC, they certainly know a lot more about extending their lives. And at this point, I guess I'm just appealing to a vampire or something at that point.
Probably, yeah, you probably are.
Vampire. Type in the comments below, why did you think bobbing for apples was a good idea when you were a human? Thank you.
Yeah. So another Halloween ritual was mirror gazing, as people hoped to catch a vision of their future selves, the future, by looking into a mirror. We also reported future fortune cookies, like favors, people would give out in the every early time. People wrote messages on pieces of paper with milk, and they would then fold them and put them inside a walnut shell to roast them over a fire so the milk would brown enough to appear on the paper.
But I can see how the mirror messages probably got twisted and translated into like Candyman or Bloody Mary and stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, taking things out of context to see a guy just look into the mirror for his future and see Bloody Mary probably is like very confusing for someone at that time. Or maybe not. Maybe he always knew he was trans.
It is a weird thing they did.
Also, with so many creepypastas there are about the mirror person, where it's like you might catch them moving out of the corner of your eye.
I think there's actually somewhat of an irony to mirrors in Western culture versus Eastern, because I think for China, they actually have it so that mirrors are actually a deterrent from demons, and are actually meant that if a demon sees itself in a mirror, it will flee because it's horrified by its own appearance.
So pretty much like candy grabbing became a mainstream in the U.S. in the early 1900s, for which families would provide treats to kids and hope they would be immune to any holiday pranks.
So, give them a sugar rush to make them prank less.
Yeah.
No, I can't prank him. He has caramel.
Well, it's also like, I guess, maybe the candy didn't have that much sugar, so it's just like hard candy. So it's like, no, Timmy. You can only go prank your neighbors after you finish this piece of candy. It's just
But I broke my teeth last year.
Well, now your teeth are stronger. Give it the old college try.
My teeth are gone.
Yep, makes it easier.
Yeah, don't have to worry about breaking your teeth anymore. As I was speaking about costumes, so they evolved because of Scottish and Irish pranksters, or hooligans, as they were said. They got the idea to dress up as wear scary looking garbs, and they would scare the neighbors.
And what time was that? Did they start dressing up? Because I could easily imagine it, like, especially being early days, where it's like the first couple of times they do it, they scare people, and then like some new guy moves in and they take it seriously, and then like one of the town guards stabs one of them during a thing, be like, "Oh, he was joking." Ha! All right, back to the festivities.
Something like that. This kind of reminds me of this one tradition. I think it's Welsh, and it's actually more tied into Christmas, actually, where there's this, I can't remember the whole story of it, but basically, you have to complete a rap battle with this skeleton horse of someone wearing a skeleton horse costume. Otherwise, they're fully allowed to go into your home and raid your pantry for alcohol.
At that point, I would just I don't really have a very good sense of rhythm or anything, so I'd be like, here's a cooler full of alcohol. Just stay the fuck out of my house. You win.
Yeah, it doesn't say when they changed it, but I know when America first shown in like the 1900s, when costumes were really coming around.
A ploy to get even more candy. First come in as your regular neighbor, and then come in as a different neighbor.
Honestly, though, I feel like what's interesting about Halloween and how it's adapted from all these different forms of it is that we've now created our own cultural interpretation of what it is and what it means to us. It's just that I don't feel like that's something that's often discussed with how the American culture sees Halloween and how it celebrates it.
Yeah, the problem with living and or constructing a society where money talks is that the person with the more money gets to talk and say what things are, and we've more made it about candy. There's a lot less. I mean, I guess in your neighborhood there's a bit of community, but not so much like altogether. It has the same amount of running around the neighborhood to see people's Halloween stuff, and maybe you'll let your kid go that far out to collect the candy, but it's not a festival where you would really get to know people and engage with people on a different level, and or like Day of the Dead, where I think there's two ways of where it's more about honoring your ancestors and setting place and being more reverent to the past, and basically respecting the culture,
honoring the dead.
Yeah, we don't have sort of this. It went from a time to reflect and respect the past to a time where you have to make sure that the Jolly Ranchers don't have razor blades in them.
If I may actually refute that real fast.
No problem.
I actually feel as though there is somewhat of a culture to American Halloween in that the idea of dressing up in costumes and the idea of sharing candy, I feel like it is somewhat symbolic. It's just that we don't actually always register what it truly represents, because it takes the idea that we are sharing something to people that are coming door to door. It represents that at least for one night we can be something we can't be.
I guess I can get behind that, because while you're talking, I did remember there are still haunts and haunted houses and pumpkin patches and corn mazes that usually have an uptick during this time. But to me, I still feel like you have to go out and seek to become a part of that culture. It isn't necessarily universal and all-encompassing in terms of the feeling of the season. You have to put more effort to get yourself into the thing. Like, Christmas has become oppressive for a great many reasons. You can't escape that sort of culture and everything. But Halloween, you could not put out candy. You could not go to a pumpkin patch. You could not go to a haunt. You could almost treat that night like any other night and not necessarily get the feeling of the culture and the traditions behind it. Or you could do all those things. So, yeah, I do retract, but I don't feel it as omnipresent as some of the other things that we still do. It's not. I don't get as much of a sense of community from it unless you're actively looking to be in that community.
Fair enough, but I feel like that's something where America actually has trouble valuing a culture because the American mentality is the almighty dollar, and that dollar has apparently more value than culture or connections.
Yeah, it's probably also very difficult because we try to be a melting pot or a stew of so many different cultures that it is hard to really properly show respect to a universal standard of what a culture should be without having a universal idea of how to celebrate that culture, because we got so many. And everybody would be upset if you left something out or didn't do anything, because it comes down to the individual, and so we just let the individual rule and decide how that is and money. Yeah.
Well, the thing about that is that you don't necessarily have. You can still have a culture and still offer to ingratiate people into it.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how America works. It systematically eradicates culture by denying opportunities for that culture to prosper within the system itself. So what I'm trying to get at is you can still have a well-defined Halloween culture that may not be approachable for someone else of a different culture.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean it's inherently offensive.
Yeah.
It's just a celebration of something different, and maybe what they celebrate is different than yours. That doesn't mean they're doing any harm to you, and you're not doing any harm to them.
Yeah. All right, Andrew, we're back to you. We've had this discussion. Continue your lecture, Professor.
Yeah. So, in Scotland and Ireland, jack-o'-lantern became a popular meaning pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
But in Scotland and Ireland, they actually used large beets or turnips to use as lanterns.
That'd probably be harder to carve out.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, because the pumpkin has that tough skin.
Yeah. And after this, custom-rich American pumpkins began to be used.
Oh, good. An invasive species introduced just to celebrate a holiday.
Another thing I've seen about jack-o'-lanterns was ancient Celtic that used gourds.
That makes a bit more sense because they're just smaller pumpkins.
Yeah, and they didn't really carve anything. They just pretty much hollowed out and put like a light in it. Used for a lantern.
Ancient flashlight.
Yeah. The jack-o'-lantern originally represented spirits present in the dark or souls released from Christian purgatory.
I always liked Christian purgatory when I guess the Catholic Church decided it could still be a thing. Because it was just like a place where people were depressed.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. As long as you weren't...
I can't even kill myself even though I'm depressed.
Yeah, and then it's like a lot of people were there, and it's like they didn't necessarily do anything so wrong where they made up for it, but they didn't like just recognize Jesus in the end, and that's why they're in purgatory. It's like, you know what? I don't mind being super depressed if I can have interesting conversations with people who are just mundane.
So speaking of purgatory,
that's like Tuesday.
According to an Irish legend, jack-o'-lanterns were named for a character named Jack, who could not enter heaven because he was a bad-tempered man. He could not enter hell either because he had tricked the devil several times. As a result, Jack had to walk the earth forever with only a coal from hell to light his lantern.
I don't know. Coal from...
So,
go ahead.
That would probably burn through whatever he was holding it in.
Yeah, because, I can't decide. Knowing what we know of the devil, ultimate liar, brings darkness and stuff,
And then there's this random asshole that shows up and can outsmart him.
who apparently has a bad temper. Most people with bad tempers they let their temper get ahead of them before they can outsmart you. Usually, if you know they have bad temper, you just push the button and then they fuck themselves over, pretty much.
Yeah, when I was reading, I was like, how could he trick the devil if his temper was so bad?
Well, enough to keep him out of heaven.
Yeah.
But then it's like, he only lights his way from a coal of hell.
Maybe maybe it's something like the bad temper is indicative that if someone does something very small, it sets him off. And he goes down this road of how he's going to fuck them over.
Ultimate revenge. His entire life is just Reddit/pro revenge. But the coal of hell I'm getting caught up on because it's like, okay, so it either burns forever, burns too hot to be contained, or because it's from hell, it burns cold or doesn't burn at all, and they're like,
well, it depends on the layer of hell if we're to believe Dante's Inferno, because if it's closer to the Devil's Throne, it would burn cold, but if it's but depending on the layer, it would burn hot.
yeah.
And it would probably burn forever, but the question is, how hot are we talking? Are we talking 400 degrees? Or because that would be kind of cold compared to what you would assume hell would be.
I think since he tricked the devil, it probably burns cold. Also, it would make sense for the changing of the seasons sort of thing if it burned cold, because it's getting a lot chillier that year. Yeah, I've decided that's what I'm going to believe about it.
So would it emit some kind of eerie glow? Do you think if he's using it to light his lantern?
Yeah, it probably would emit that some sort of weird eerie glow that.
Like some kind of endothermic reaction.
Yeah.
It's the stranger danger light.
Yeah.
That actually has potential to be a very interesting illustration because I can imagine it would glow something like a very light blue or maybe a mixture of blue and purple or something.
I think if it was a blue but like black light, and because he has a short temper, it just made him look red all the time. Like one of those emotional stones only as a light. So when the light's cast upon other people, it just shows their tendency to be in an emotional state. That'd be interesting, but I doubt that's actually what it is.
Yeah. Still though, the idea of what it could actually potentially look like would actually be interesting to me. The part I'm kind of caught up on now is the idea of his bad temper didn't let him get into heaven. Because when I hear that, I think just a rowdy child kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would have been more apt to say he was a psychopath.
Yeah, like a bad temper. Okay, rowdy child. Didn't let him into heaven. Oh, so he killed somebody. Okay. I get it. You're like...
Like I said, nowadays they don't really do much of that stuff now. Today it's more about trick-or-treating, going to like Halloween parties, decorating your house and all that stuff. I think I remember hearing something, but probably not true, but I remember hearing that if you dress up, you scare off a certain devil that will come up. But I could be absolutely wrong about that, though, too.
A devil afraid of a Barney costume.
Or it was either to scare them off or to trick them into thinking you were anything but human.
Basically, yeah. So the idea is that they were pursuing like a trickster or something.
Yeah.
So that almost kind of relates back to the birthday thing, where it's like they believe that you just had to be loud and have a party all day during your birthday in order to keep evil away.
Yeah.
That just makes evil spirits and demons sound like prissy bitch librarians, honestly, because it's like, all right, I have to get this exact person. You're not it. All right, I'm gonna sneak up and oh my god, it's so loud and bright. I'm just gonna go home. I'm gonna call my boss.
I got a headache now. Oh, where's the demon ibuprofen?
I can't get him when he's most susceptible to evil. I can't get him on the day where we're all coming up here. The dude is untouchable. I don't know what to do, man.
This kind of reminds me of when I actually read this one story of this one disappearance in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. And allegedly the family there reported seeing a skinwalker. And then after that they mysteriously vanished. And only their dog was found. Now, I at first thought, oh man, skinwalker sounds pretty creepy, but then I actually learned what it was, and it was basically just a shaman that can morph into an animal.
Yeah.
It's not as cool as... I thought a skinwalker was something that literally goes into your skin and wears you like a coat.
Or almost like the aforementioned, way back, like Tommyknocker, how they, once again, I think I'm remembering it wrong, but did they use, fake skin? No, they just decayed rapidly, didn't they?
I think that... so the Tommyknockers were aliens that were manipulating the people of the town by basically... giving them increased intelligence and creativity, but they were doing that so they could eat them.
Yeah.
So going back to when Christianity influenced Halloween,
Oh, these fuckers.
Yeah, Pope Gregory III. Pretty much, it was like he actually devised the whole reason it was kind of converted to Christianity. Virgin was because Pope Gregory III devised a clever tactic getting Celtics to convert to Christianity.
Listen up, fuckers. We're culturally appropriating your tradition.
Yeah, and the festivals surrounding Samhain were altered a bit and were changed now to All Saints Day or All Hallows Day. And that's where All Saints Day came from, pretty much. They pretty much like, hey, we're gonna tell you all that to worship our way. And then we're gonna take your holiday away from you, or festival away from you, and change it to what we think.
That's what they did. Like when Rome took over Christmas, it was basically a drunken orgy. But I don't know any Roman holiday that did not involve drunken orgies of some sort.
That's ironically, America does the same. Oh man, it's Cinco de Mayo. Time to get wasted. Wait, what is Cinco de Mayo? Who cares?
It's the day. It's the 5th of May. Yeah, I do also remember hearing the story of like when pagans were trying to convert people, like I think in the English Isles, like the Vikings and stuff there, they were like, well, my God will protect me from walking across hot coals. And like they would walk across hot coals, but the thing is they would do it in a way that they didn't get burned as much, like they'd like wet their shoes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they'd walk across and be like, yeah, will your God keep you from getting your shoes burnt or whatever? And they didn't. So basically showing Vikings that their God was more powerful in protecting them in the day-to-day was a way to convert them.
The Vikings have the Norse god Odin, the warrior king.
Yeah. But also Odin was a bit of a dick. Well,
not as much as Zeus.
Yeah.
No, you're correct. Zeus was probably the biggest dick of all the guys.
What was that picture? Did you post it up? No, I think I found it on Twitter because Netflix's Blood of Zeus came out.
Yeah,
and then so there's this meme that somebody put out where it's like, you're not a bastard, you're the son of Zeus, and he's telling this guy, and below it is a picture of that's like a regular person that's like all of Greece. I'm like, same.
So I think my favorite phrase that sums up Greek mythology is, unfortunately, Zeus was feeling horny.
He's a food syrup, by the way, too.
Yeah, should be.
So another thing, when Halloween came to America, a lot of religious people were very afraid. Were actually kind of afraid of this. Yeah, they were kind of afraid of and oblivious to participate in a holiday with a somewhat dubious history filled with deeply dark practices and any association with many things they were terrified, including witchcraft, demons, ghosts, and the likes.
This was from the same culture that saw a woman cooking stew and thought, she's a witch!
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the things was witchcraft. They were afraid of.
I don't think.
But, I mean...
The culture surrounding witchcraft is incredibly stupid. Like, the idea of what actual witchcraft was, I've actually looked into this a little bit, is the worship of Baphomet.
Yeah.
But that's not what most women were doing.
The Halloween and anything resembling it was generally disdained as well as shunned by religious people.
That sounds about right.
Talking about jack-o'-lanterns and the guy named Jack again.
Mm-hmm.
One popular legend speaks of a cranky and drunken prankster named Jack, who enjoyed playing mean-spirited jokes on his fellow villagers. One day, being bored with the locals, Jack decided to play a trick on the devil himself, conning and then trapping the devil, up in the branches of a tall tree. Jack refused to let the devil down and used crosses and other religious symbols to keep him holed up in the leafy treetop. Jack, being a dim-witted opportunist, decided to make a deal with the devil. Jack released the devil from the tree only if the devil in return would promise that no matter how bad his behavior ever was, he would never take his soul into hell. The devil agreed when Jack finally died. His evil lifestyle has negated an opportunity for him to enter heaven. Yet the devil was true to his promise and did not take Jack into hell. Jack's soul was forced to roam the earth for eternity. As a final gesture of wicked altruism, the devil tossed Jack an ember to burn in a turnip as his internal wandered the earth on his endless journey in the moment that the first Jack monster was born. So it was an ember that was actually put inside a turnip.
And he was evil-ish, and he knew he was going to go to hell, so it's just like...
better make a deal with the devil so I don't have to go to hell.
Yeah.
So now we actually know the story of the jack-o'-lantern a lot better.
I'm just thinking of how surreal that is. The townspeople are going to be boring. What would I do next? Go to the nearest city? Nah, that's too obvious. I'm going to summon Satan! And then how did he trap him in the tree? And I'm just imagining that he's like, I am the corrupter of all mankind, but I can't get out of this tree now because of all these crosses.
Yeah. You have to be that stupid to try to summon and then con the devil.
Like, what was the devil going to do? Keep his promise?
Surprisingly, the devil did, so...
Kind of,
yeah.
Like, that's just it. He kept his promise, but in a way that made it absolutely worse.
I mean, I think most people know by now that Deal with the Devil is pretty much a monkey's paw thing.
I mean, it is, yeah. But that's just it. It's like, why would you expect it to turn out any way but? It's like making a deal with a djinn. Or a genie, if you're so inclined.
Yeah, these are decorations, popular decorations that people use now. That's what I'm going through. Skeletons. The skeleton has been associated with Halloween and Halloween decoration for thousands of years. The skull being viewed by the Catholic people as the house of the soul. If you go far back into history, it was thought that during the days surrounding the celebration of Samhain, the dead had the ability to return to their own earth and mingle among the living during these festivals, dressing up to appear dead. Local villagers would don any costume or mask they would find effective, ward off any potential evil spirits. You can bet that the look of a skeleton will be most certainly have been preferred for the aspect of its gout, very death-like appearance. The skeleton or skull has been long been used as a universal symbol that represents mortality, illness, danger, or death. When a person is living, their bones are support mechanisms, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's often used during Halloween season as a popular decoration, as it is a frightening reminder of human mortality and clear symbol of humanity's fear of death.
Skeleton skull go doot.
Then there's ghosts. Ghosts are likely one of the oldest and most thick of all the Halloween symbols. Ancient folklore taught that during the celebratory times that there was the precursors or modern-day Halloween spirits of the newly deceased will be out and about at the dawn of winter, intermingling with the living however they liked, because the lines between life and death were considered to be somewhat blurred during the early Halloween festivities, and spirits were thought to be out in full force. The idea of seeing a ghost on Halloween would have not been considered all that far-fetched. As time went on, many of the traditions of Halloween went along with it, and many of those traditions are still a huge part of Halloween. Celebrating in our modern day, today dressing up in Halloween costumes that appear to be ghostly beings is a very fun and popular way to get spooky spirit Halloween. Yeah, this goes on and on with different Halloween decorations and where they came from. One's black cats. I think everyone knows about the black cats in general. And there's witches, cauldrons, broomsticks. Yeah, so apparently the witches has been heavily associated with Halloween for hundreds of years. The cackling, brew-making old hags imagine of the image of the witch. However, it's probably mostly created from fiction, although some say she may be representative of the triple pagan goddess, the crone. Before Christianity came to Europe and people began to be converted, there had been wise women amongst the pagans who were versed in the use of plants and herbs as a way to treat sickness and diseases. Which is kind of interesting that the idea that they were represented by the triple pagan goddess, the crone.
I always thought it was the crones, plural, because it was a triple goddess.
Yeah, the crones. Yeah, the triple pagan goddess. Yeah. I'm so surprised that America actually eventually let Halloween a thing, because I think it was almost because of the Irish that brought Halloween over with them.
Yeah, and I'm glad we ingratiated that into our culture, even if it has been so overly monetized that it's lost a lot of its original charms.
Yeah, yes, it has.
I kind of wish we could transfer. I wish we could make a transition to where we're actually holding a value of Halloween into our culture. Because as it stands, I don't see America as having any culture other than, how much money are we making?
Yeah, like you said before, it's all about dollars for them instead of culture.
Yeah, and that's just it. America could have amazingly interesting culture with its dynamics, but we don't go that route.
No, if they can make money off of it, they will gladly make money instead of doing what everyone else wants them to do.
Yeah.
That's really all I've found, though, about the article and stuff repeating themselves.
I always find it a bit odd because it's like you can't touch ghosts or spirits in traditional media, but ghosts and spirits are basically you without a physical body tethered you. So you, if you really, are centered and really want to hit it enough with all of your very spirit, should be able to punch a ghost. Because it's just you without a mechanical suit.
Basically, yeah.
But you should still be able to hit it with your internal belief that you're going to be punching it.
There actually is a webcomic that actually does kind of dive into that. And that is paranatural, because the idea of paranatural is that ghosts normally can't touch people or things unless they have a very specific demeanor. Like, they have to have a very specific mindset in order to actually make contact with corporeal things or even people. And the characters that the story follows are called things like spectrals. And the only reason they can even see or touch ghosts is because they are ghost and human in this. They are both ghost and human.
Yeah.
Speaking of, read Paranatural. It's really good.
Yeah, it's like a movie I remember watching called 13 Ghosts. The only way they can see the ghost is with these special glasses. But yet the ghost can physically grab onto the people, and hurt them that way. But yet they can't see or feel touch the ghost in any way either. I mean, I kind of understand that sometimes you can't physically see a ghost. Well, certain things, but I mean, it's a good movie, but I guess never understood all the reality of it.
Yeah, I mean that's just it. I think a lot of people like the idea of what a ghost is. Like, it's an interesting concept to explore. The idea of being tied to the earth, yet you still can't move on.
Yeah, you can stuck here for eternities unless you do the certain thing that's keeping you here. Or sometimes you just have nothing that you can do and you're just stuck here forever.
I've always wondered about something like that, because what's stopping them from staying in existence until the earth explodes or something? Like, if the earth were to explode, what would happen? They'd just be floating in space like, well, this sucks even more.
Yeah, and like a little chunk of the earth.
Occupying the... It would literally just be a phantom zone instead.
Yeah.
That actually has a lot... actually, that's a really cool concept. An idea of an entire belt of space that is literally made up of tormented spirits. That actually is really cool.
Yeah.
AKA Alderaan. It's gone now.
Yeah.
I know it is, but I've never actually seen Star Wars, so...
Well, yeah, the reason I asked that question at the beginning is because I remember there was I was at church with my family, and the pastor was going over like the nature of the soul. It's like your soul is you, like you. So it's like gonna save your soul. It's like, okay, but how's that separate from your cognitive self, like or physical self? And it's like, no, the way he described it was like it is your cognitive self. It is also a part of your soul. It's just internal. It is you.
Yeah, your soul is still you, but I mean, you just have. I don't know. I don't make sense either. But I mean,
Here's a question: if you have a chemical imbalance and you die, does that mean that your soul has a chemical imbalance?
Possibly.
yeah, possibly. Yeah, that is a high chance of it probably being like that. Yeah. I think it's also like the same thing as if you die a certain way, your spirit or your ghost will probably look that way as well. If you get run over, you'll probably look like you have got run over or shot in the head or something like that.
Yeah, it's just that if that's the case, then it also begs the question of like how you'd still be able to function, because if you lose your jaw or your tongue or even your tongue or something, you're not going to be able to do much of anything.
No, you won't be able to talk. You won't be eat or anything like that. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter anyway. You're dead, but I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say because like, some people not having their jaw or tongue won't stop them from doing things. But
Could you imagine a ghost with no jaw and no arms? What could you do? Like you want to be able to at least try and communicate a message to someone about how you died, but you end up scaring them so badly that they never help you. Like, you're not even trying to threaten them. You're just like, please, this is how I died. This is exactly how I died. Please, you need to stop him before he kills someone else.
use your toes.
Yeah, people learn to play guitar with just their feet.
Or piano and all that, yeah.
Yeah.
If we're going with the idea that a ghost has feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there have been representations of ghosts where they have not had.
Yeah, they just had like a tail-like thing. And they just float in the air. Yeah. Or they get like an upper torso.
Or I guess it'd be worse if the ghost is just reliving the thing and they can't actually learn new stuff, so they can't even adjust themselves to their situation.
Yeah, there's
stuff
in that infinite loop.
But that just sounds like it's a representation of hell. Why would they need to be on Earth for that?
Earth is their hell?
I guess.
That's about as simplest as I could think of.
Yeah. Well, that's their permanent like in damnation or something like that though too.
But wouldn't that make God a victim shamer because he's essentially putting a victim through the torment they went through over and over and over again, even if they didn't do anything wrong?
No, possibly, yeah.
And possibly even worse if he sent them there originally to try and like teach the other malevolent spirit a lesson or save people, and then it's like, oh, you failed and you were a good Christian boy or girl this entire time. Well,
sucks to be you, buddy.
I'm sorry, not sorry.
Tell me when you learn your lesson. What lesson's that? Oh no, you're learning something down there. See you later.
I guess it also depends, because if it's just a ghost that's killing, then when a person dies, they wouldn't necessarily be trapped in the same situation. But if it's like one of the, like a poltergeist, so like the house itself is haunted and it's absorbing the souls of whoever dies in it, then that'd be like, oh, you're released there. But
yeah,
if it's just a person, it's probably
at that point
not
you
as bad.
like if you do talk about ghost hunter like then that, or even blessing the house might release their spirits from the house.
But that also begs a question for poltergeists. If the house is absorbing the souls, then at what point do you say that it's the house? Because is it the government-defined lines? Is it the physical materials that make up the house? If I were to take a brick from it, would that mean that brick is a piece of a person's soul?
Yeah, I mean,
well, I think it's more like items that are like a spirit gets attached to, I think, instead of the house itself.
Yeah, like that makes sense, but then there's the other question. Let's say you're attached to this necklace, like it has a lot of sentimental meaning to you, and you take the string that's holding it. Are you part of the string, the amulet that's part of it, or both? Schrodinger's ghost.
Most likely, you'd probably be part of not the necklace, but the main part of it.
Like the pendant or the amulet or something.
Yeah, probably more attached to that than the chain itself that goes around your neck. Yeah.
So next question then. Let's say it's an open up locket, and there's no picture inside. If I were to split it, would that mean that you would be in one part of it or the other? Like the cover or where the picture frame would go?
Probably where the picture would go.
Yeah, the thing is that it kind of begs the question: if let's say there is a picture in there, if I remove that, does that mean it wasn't the locket at all and was the picture the whole time?
And does the destruction of any item that you're tied to immediately free you, or does it anger you?
Yeah.
Because are you released and allowed to run rampant? I was having this discussion while watching Rose Red with somebody else, where it's like, just destroy the building that they're haunting, and it's like, no, that'll anger the spirits. And it's like, they already seem plenty angry stuck where they are.
Yeah.
The destruction of the place seems to release them, or just destroy it and or make it hollowed ground.
I mean, if you destroy it, most likely it will, like I said, be released or go to another place that I found.
Or does it erase you from existence?
That could be too.
Because that might be why they'd be angered even more, because and that might be why they're acting so angry. They're trying to protect what's keeping them to the corporeal plane, because they don't want to not exist. Like if that got explained or something, that would make sense.
Yeah, because they're trying to keep the place where they died. Well, I mean, doesn't mean the place they died was like close, like they found it precious to them. But I mean, it does wherever they died at. They were just trying to keep it up and running, like you said, to where they can have a place to be themselves again. So
yeah, so that would beg the question: does that mean you could help them in some way if you found the item that they were tied to, and help them move on? Because The Witcher actually has something like this called wraiths. And wraiths are women that died in very tragic ways, and they manifest in different forms.
yeah.
And their anger is what twists them to such a degree.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like the person, I guess, because a lot of people think differently of how they're release ghosts.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say. What do you think, Ryan?
I think there's a lot of websites that are talking about this issue, and anybody listening to what we're saying right now was probably just screaming for the past 20 minutes about how stupid we are. But then again, because there's so many websites and theories about it, it's the person screaming at different intervals of 20 minutes if they indeed do find this. So I think I'm not going to add to the screaming anymore. Take a sip of tea or coffee or whatever you need to get to calm down. And I think
asking stupid questions is how you start to get smart at something.
That's true. But I also know that there's a lot of stuff out there that we haven't looked at. And indeed, that idea of the asking dumb questions just to arbitrarily fill yourself with knowledge about things that isn't really useful in the long run is pretty much what this whole show is based upon.
Well, not only that, but it's a good thought experiment because it's an application of rationality using abstract concepts.
Thank you for helping us justify our existence. That being said, are you going to be regular or every once in a while?
Probably every once in a while because I actually don't have a vehicle and I live in Columbia, so.
Oh yeah, no, me and Byron actually used to live there, so we do have friends in that area, which you also may know of, maybe. But that is a conversation to happen, not where I'd have to arbitrarily edit it out, because that is a possible doxing situation. So,
I mean, it's already enough. I mentioned the city where I live.
Yeah, and a name, but it's also a college town, so there is a good saturation point.
Plus, most people are probably going to spell my name wrong.
Probably, yeah.
So, I guess next week it'll be me, then?
The next time it'll be, yeah.
I have no idea. I haven't...
You or Richie, one of the two.
Yeah, if Richie comes back, it's him. And if he's back from what's been going on with him, it's him. If not, it's me. I'll try to see. Yeah, man, I really wish I could find a time where my friend Aaron was off, so I could get him in. But yeah, I guess it'll be me, or Richie, depending on how he is. I guess I'll try to edit this so I can get it out fairly quick, so it's not too behind the time. That being said, ask the questions and things that are bothering you down below. Ask or comment on how dumb we are down below with the links to web pages about how everything we do would definitely anger the ghosts and spirits, except for everything else that we would do that would definitely cleanse the ghosts and spirits. Don't just link Phantasmophobia Steam link page or GOG link page. That's not going to be helpful. I've watched Markiplier playthroughs on it. It's like fun, but I also don't trust enough people to pick it up and play myself.
Anyway, like, subscribe. Comment down, like Ryan says, comment down below with questions and saying how dumb we are.
Yeah, leave your sass down below.
Yeah.
We may
let them know you hate me and you never want to see me again.
Do the opposite of that and tell him how much you like him and all that, so he can come back.
Just talk about how great Andrew and Carlton is, and how much you hate Ryan, who is the main person who's been organizing this project and owns all the shit.
Now do the opposite of that and show some appreciation for all his hard work he's doing.
My edits are terrible. We all know it. So yeah, like, subscribe. We hope you have a good day. We hope that you've been well entertained, and we hope that you, at this point, enjoyed your Halloween and had very safe. If like anything, I'm pretty sure the amount of small parties / maybe just horror movie marathons will probably be the way to go this year.
Yeah.
And then everybody rushing after voting, buying the used candy that will go on sale. But either way,
I'm gonna see you guys later.
Take care.